The subject of today's episode will be the mass evacuation and the horrors that came from it, the cleansing of the class structure, the demolition of the economy, the culling of all religions, and the country turning against itself, with prisons set up strictly to find enemies of the state and entire fields dedicated to burying the dead. You'll hear how paranoia can just, in 3.5 short years, completely tear down a government from the inside, but not without a little help from the Vietnamese. Today we give you our second and final episode of Pol Pot and the Cambodian Genocide. I'm Kevin Young.
I once kicked Colonel Sanders in the teeth because he fed me subpar chicken. Son of a bitch. Yeah. Dan Horgan.
And this is torture. I like KFC.
I like some parts of KFC. Right? They fucked it up over here. It used to be good, and then they fucked it up, and it's bad now. I had it for the first time in years a while ago because our child had never had KFC before and he wanted to try it, and I was like, oh, it's still bad. So
still use the original 11 herbs and spices over here. They used to have like a buttered corn on the cob over here that was on a stick. Corn on a cob on a stick.
Yeah,
so
here,
pretty much 2 sticks is what you're doing, because the corn on the cob is already a stick.
And it's his own vessel.
It's You're wasting sticks.
It's like wrapping a banana.
It was Or you look in the see those pictures on Facebook over like Japan or whatever. It's garlic that's already peeled, wrapped in plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever. Or oranges that have been peeled and wrapped in plastic. It's like, come on. But no, I love our KFC. They took the corn off the cob and they put it in a bowl now, so it's not quite the same. But still, I think the mashed potatoes have maybe gone downhill.
We don't have mashed.
You don't have mashed potatoes? How the fuck, of all the places in the world, that doesn't do the mashed potatoes for
I'm
KFC?
Sorry, the last thing you want to do is come to Ireland with a subpar potato product. Okay?
Well,
so that shit ain't gonna go. That ain't gonna happen. We're not also not. I get the whole, let's say,
stereotype.
Sorry, I wasn't gonna say stereotype. I was gonna say I get the whole culinary idea, all that stuff of the mashed gravy, chicken thing. I think it's fantastic combination and all that stuff.
Oh, okay.
But it's just not done here. Like, we get fries with ours, and there's they have the corn, they have the gravy, we have beans. I can't think of what else they have. One of our KFCs ran out of chicken before, though.
Do they do mac and cheese over there?
Nope. No, so that's the thing. They don't have that whole southern cuisine thing down. Mac and cheese.
Kentucky fried chicken.
They mac and cheese. I don't think it wouldn't go down as well here as a side and somewhere like that. Like, you go to places here. There's a couple of burger places or a couple of places that specialize in barbecue stuff and stuff like that are kind of more. It's very annoying actually, because they're kind of more like, like upmarket places, and they're more expensive, even though barbecue should be cheap, and they'd have those kind of sides, but not KFC, so.
No, fuck, we got the you can get the green beans, you can get the baked beans, the mac and cheese, the corn, the potatoes and gravy,
You get
Biscuits.
biscuits. Yeah, we don't have biscuits.
It's just.
I see. I know. I get it. But it's not something that would really work here. I don't think. Cause
Biscuits fucking work everywhere. I'm sorry.
no,
Biscuits.
it's not what's viewed here as being a norm in food. If you get me, hence the reason why specialist place do it. Like
fucking buttermilk biscuit with a little bit of butter and jelly on that thing. God damn it!
See, we see them just as scones or scones. Scones.
But a scone, and a biscuit aren't the same thing.
I know that, but if you put two of those things in front of people over here, they're gonna be like, "That's just a really shit looking scone." So,
I need to try it.
I've tried it. I think they're delicious. I'm good with them.
They are fucking delicious. Yeah. If they're made right. I've had bad biscuits before too. You bite into them, it's like eating chalk.
Yeah.
It's like, can I have some more, please? Just crumbs falling from your mouth.
Eating.
Well, how you been?
Good.
Talk in a little bit.
Yeah, good. We had the wedding weekend. Not my wedding, obviously. My sister-in-law, brother-in-law's.
The cakes looked fucking great.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh my god, the cat's back in. But yeah, it's something I was thinking about doing more.
You don't remember, for those of you, I think we brought it up on the last episode. It might have been a Patreon thing. I don't know. It was a Patreon thing. It was a Patreon thing because we talked about the eggs and you getting them from a vending machine. Dan made cakes for, was it your sister-in-law? Was that?
Yeah, my sister-in-law's wedding. Yeah.
Made the wedding cakes and the cupcakes for that, and sent me some pictures. They look really fucking good. What kind were they again?
One was a Victoria sponge inspired one, so I had like a strawberry jam core to it, and like vanilla cream, buttercream stuff. And then the other one was a traditional Swedish cake turned into kind of cupcakes, which is called a kladdkaka. So I can't remember how you pronounce it, but it's like a chocolate cake that's like a brownie meets a chocolate lava cake. Normally it's made as a whole kind of that thickish round cake. So I made them as the opposite. I did that with raspberry buttercream and freeze dried raspberries and stuff. So yeah,
they look delicious. They looked very good. I think
I enjoyed it.
I wish I could have tried them, but from what I saw, I think you did a great job.
Like I said, was it fucking make that recipe, Sancho? And you do it right. I'll get a picture up here real quick of the cakes. Hold on. Choose my virtual background. Right, here you go now, so the Patreons can see them. Y'all who want to see my cakes, you gotta subscribe. Like and subscribe. Here we go.
There
you go. Yep. So there you go. Want any more than that, you're gonna have to pay people.
Very nice. All right. Well, shit.
Yep. Pol Pot.
Yeah.
Want some of my cakes.
I don't know if Pol Pot would want any of the cakes or not. He'd keep them all for himself. He'd hoard the cakes.
It's time to start up an Instagram now, apparently. What's all the cake about, or some shit?
What's all the cake about? That could be the name of your wedding cake business. What's all the cake about?
Yeah.
All right. Well, when we last left Pol Pot, formerly Salith Tsar, his Khmer Rouge army and refugees of his Khmer Rouge army of refugees and teenagers, so we're off to a bang-up start, had just entered the capital city, Phnom Penh, and the citizens were all too happy to see the civil war end. For a very short time, that is. Because the first thing Pol Pot did when they secured the city was order a complete and utter evacuation of major cities and towns. Phnom Penh has 2 to 3 million people in it. Keep that in mind.
Every time you mention that place, I just keep thinking of the place from Hunger Games, Pan Am.
Oh, Pan Am?
Yeah.
So they started going around telling the citizens that the Americans were coming to bomb anywhere that was a major population and that they should flee to the countryside for safety, even though in our last episode we already saw the Americans bomb the shit out of the countryside. So that's not going to stop us. Oh, they went to the countryside. Drat. They foiled our plan. No, we're fucking the United States. We'll bomb wherever the fuck we want.
It's well known that they're like T-Rexes, the Americans are. Their vision isn't based on movement, it's based on building. So, going to a field, they can't see jack shit. We're safe.
So, they would encourage them to leave their homes unlocked so the soldiers could go in and take care of anything that needed it. And then they could return in a few days. Like, don't worry about feeding your goldfish. We'll take care of it. All 3 million of you will just go feed all your fucking goldfish. But they're like, just leave your houses unlocked. It's fine. Obviously, this is so they can go in and take whatever they want and do whatever they want with them. But yeah, just leave your shit open.
Go back and look at all them goldfish.
We have more goldfish now than what we had when we left. How did they do this? My plants are watered. My lawn is mowed.
If it was me, everybody would have come back and all their furniture would be like upside down in their rooms. Swapped around,
rearrange.
Rearrange everything.
Be like that one episode. I don't know how much you watch Seinfeld over there, but there's an episode where Jerry leaves Kramer in his apartment while he goes and runs errands, and he's in there for like 4 hours by himself, and in that time he has taken all the furniture out of Jerry's apartment, put it in his apartment, rearranged everything, thrown like a full cocktail party. It just filled the place up with people, and then put it all back the way it was supposed to be. It was like a montage. I love Seinfeld. Anyway, those that refused, so they'd go to the door and knock and be like, hey, the Americans are coming. They're going to bomb everything. You should really get to the countryside for safety if you want to live. And you're like, nah, I think I'll take my chances. We'll be okay. I don't think the Americans do anything. They're like, well, okay. They'd shoot you. They'd shoot you in the face. If you refuse to go to the countryside, they shot you. So it's you're either going to die because the Americans are bombing you, or we're going to shoot you in the face.
That's one way to get
it doesn't make any sense.
To be fair.
But the thing was, no one was
spared. Escape death or else we'll kill you.
Yeah, exactly. No one was spared, so you couldn't like buy your way out of it. Why you'll find out in a little bit. But rich, poor, sick, healthy, doesn't matter. You're leaving. Even the hospitals were cleared out. And if you weren't able-bodied enough to walk out or have someone wheel you out, well, then guess what? You didn't leave.
You were.
You were there forever. I laugh, but it's really fucking horrible because these are 2 or 3 million people that are having to just uproot themselves and start walking.
Okay.
Again, they didn't have the public transit system all up and running yet. Civil War.
Yeah.
So after 3 days, the only ones left were soldiers and diplomats at the French embassy, and they were soon taken by truck to the Thai border. So about a week in, it's just nothing but refugees and teenagers just running around. Unsupervised minorities.
And all the fish.
They're just eating all the goldfish, rearranging furniture, having the time of their lives. Now, this mass evacuation was a complete horror show for many. Families separated, some of them never reunited. The Khmer Rouge didn't have enough food or water for the millions, and no shelters waiting along the way. In the first few weeks, around 11,000 people died due to starvation, disease, and exhaustion. Others were just killed. Members of Lon Nol's army, bureaucrats, government workers, teachers, doctors, any educated intellectual or professional, rounded up, taken out of sight, and shot. 19-year-old Swoon Pal describes his experience during the evacuation. Quote, "My family and I left the city and took the road to Prek Penev. Along the way, I saw Khmer Rouge soldiers waiting in groups of 3 or 4. They searched people and took their watches, radios, glasses, gold, and precious stones. Some even took 500 real bills and threw them in the air, saying, 'The revolutionary Angkar has put an end to money.'" The real bill was the currency that Cambodians used at the time, and we will get to what Angkar is here in a minute. "We had great difficulty making any headway because of the enormous crowd leaving town, and also because some Khmer Rouge kept firing shots to scare us. Many people died on that march, the hospital patients who had been driven out, the women who gave birth on the road, the war casualties. We reached Vat Kak on April 25th. The walk was about 30 kilometers long. Along the way, we saw many dead bodies scattered about everywhere, even in the pagodas, and the stench that came from them was almost unbearable." Yeah, there's just women giving birth on the road as they, walk a little bit, stop, give birth, get up, keep walking,
having their baby.
Yeah. When the survivors finally got to the countryside, the Khmer Rouge had labor camps waiting. On the 27th, they announced the formation of the new government called the Democratic Kampuchea. It would be headed by Sihanouk as chief of state. Didn't see that one coming, did you?
Never.
So that the other countries would see the coup as a return of the king to power. But in reality, Sihanouk was a puppet, and Pol Pot was actually pulling the strings. What we talked about the Emperor and Darth Vader. Sihanouk's more Darth Vader. Pol Pot is the Emperor, telling everybody what to do in the background. And the regime's communist affiliation would, for now, not be revealed to the world. Pol Pot and his party leaders would keep their identities unknown, again, for now. Behind the scenes, the supreme leadership of the party was called Angkar, which was faceless, nameless, and all-seeing. Names weren't used. Instead, they used even more pseudonyms. Pol Pot, which was already a pseudonym for Salazar, was now Brother Number 1. Next in line was Nyun Che, who was Brother Number 2, and so on and so on. It just kept going down the line. Brother Number 3, Brother Number 4,
Very monstrous of names.
You're just waiting down the line like, Brother 69, come on, Brother 69. It's going to be great, Brother 69. And then you got the other guys like, Brother 420, man. Brother 420, man. I'm going to tell if I don't get it, I'm going to ask him if I can have it anyway. Now, many of these men who were in the party were his comrades from his Paris days. He brought them, pretty much brought them with him. The next month, Pol Pot would announce to his team that they were to, much like Mao in China, erase Cambodian history. The year of the revolution would be known as Year Zero. So pretty much nothing before the revolution mattered or existed or happened or anything like that. Year of the revolution was when it all started. And they would cut communication to the outside world. And Angkar would implement an 8-point policy to wipe out imperialism, religion, and enemies to encourage collective labor and organization. Number 1, evacuate people from all towns. Check. Did that.
Smell an awful lot like communism.
Number 2, abolish markets. Well, if there's no cities left, there's nobody in the cities, I guess you probably don't have a fucking supermarket or anything like that anywhere. There's nobody selling shit.
I would assume it was probably just markets in general, market in the term of
just the
movement of goods
you go to and buy shit. Yeah. Number 3, abolish the Lon Nol regime currency and withhold the revolutionary currency that has been printed. It's like, you see all this money? It's no good anymore. That's the old regime. No good. This is the new revolutionary money, and you can't have any of it.
The revolutiono.
It's like, it doesn't make any sense. We're going to make new money and then not let you have any. Yeah. Then it doesn't mean anything. It's pointless.
It's kind of like
nobody
Bitcoin,
got any. Yes, that's Bitcoin. Pol Pot was a visionary of cryptocurrency, as in we have it all, but you can't have any. Number 4.
We have not invented computers yet. Yeah. We have cryptocurrency.
We have cryptocurrency. Crypto is in mythological. It doesn't exist. Number 4, defrock all Buddhist monks and put them to work growing rice. Number 5, execute all leaders of the Lon Nol regime, beginning with the top leaders. Number 6, establish high-level cooperatives through the country with communal eating. So nobody was really allowed to own their own food. It was like, here's a big pile of rice. Everybody dig in. If you don't get any, fuck off.
You're such a lovely way with words, Kevin.
That's pretty much what it was, though. Yeah. This is all the food you're getting. If you don't get any, then go die somewhere. That's and if you think that they didn't actually think that way, just wait.
Oh yeah, I assumed as much, yeah.
Number 7, expel the entire Vietnamese minority population from the country. And 8, dispatch troops to the border, particularly the Vietnamese border. Now, as far as what Pol Pot started doing to his own people, well, they were essentially slaves, forced to work long, hard hours, watched by guards, and told often, quote, to keep, these are the guards who are telling the workers, telling the citizens, telling the people who are growing all the crops and doing all, they are telling these people this several times a day. To keep you is no gain, and to destroy you is no loss. Just like, we don't need you, motherfucker. And then just put a bullet in their head if they need to. They didn't give a fuck.
Sounds like the civil service.
It sounds like pretty much any menial job. I tell people all the time, it's like, I'm not important at this job that I have. If I was to keel over dead, they'd just put somebody else here and keep rolling. They'd buy a cake and have
somebody
a farewell
just slide
ceremony.
in.
Yeah, I mean, that's all it is. That's all any of these places are. So, it's not quite to the level of what it was in the Cambodian genocide, I suppose, but it's still not great.
Hey, neither of us were there. For all we know, we have it harder than they did.
That's true. That's true.
In 40 years from now, or whatever, somebody's going to be sitting on a podcast talking about how, how poorly we were treated.
How horrible people in their mid to late 30s and early 40s were treated at their jobs.
Yeah, exactly. You're a cog in a machine, man.
Just a cog. Just a gear. Education, money, religion, bright clothing, friendships, all... God damn, I had something pop on my computer. Hold on. Just for no reason, just my computer just popped. It was like, hey, how you doing? And then I had to close out. Like, okay, what the fuck was that?
That's them there viruses he's getting from watching that there pornography.
I'll have you know I run through a VPN for all my pornography. It's completely clean. Education, money, religion, bright clothing, friendships, all abolished or forbidden. Forced marriages were implemented, and children were separated from their parents to be raised communally. The new people to the countryside, the citizens that spent their lives in the cities, were now forced to work in the rice fields, many of which were not suited for the lifestyle and died from being overworked or were beaten or starved to death. Didn't care how old you were, didn't care how physically fit you were, did not give a shit. If you were there, you were in the rice fields, you were working.
I was going to say, some poor paraplegic fuckers sitting there and drowning in the paddy fields because they're not fit to be there.
Yeah, people in their fucking 80s are out there, hoeing up rice or whatever the fuck they do in a rice field, but they're out there working their asses off and then they just keel over and die. and they are just left there, and people work around them.
Just like, they piss and shit themselves into the fucking rice water.
Like, fertilizer. Keep going. They don't give it. They don't fucking care. Mix it in.
God damn it.
How do you think you got the brown rice?
I was going to say, yeah, is that how you got brown rice? But...
Which one of us was going to go for the easy joke first?
Yeah.
I beat you to it. I beat you to it.
I should know that that's my bar. It's about that high anyway. So I should have just said it. What was expected. It's like when I'm listening back on episodes and I'm like, why didn't I say this particular joke? And I was like, oh, that's because it's shit. And then one time's like thinking to myself when you're saying something and I'm listening back to the podcast and I think something goes through my head and automatically the next thing I hear it coming out of my mouth. I'm like, I didn't think of that. That was an easy shot.
Oh. And then there was the ethnic cleansing. That's a hell of a segue. I was laughing.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's no rice cleansing. We're all right with ethnic cleansing.
Ethnic Vietnamese, ethnic Thai, Chinese, ethnic Muslim, Cambodian Christians, and other minorities were targeted. The Khmer Rouge forcibly relocated minority groups and banned their language. By decree, the Khmer Rouge banned the existence of more than 20 minority groups, which constituted 15% of Cambodia's population.
So, ironically, they didn't like the Asians very much.
Something like that. They didn't like other
Asians.
or religions. He was wanting to make an atheistic communist utopia, which in theory
sounds excellent.
Again, theory, the Karl Marxist, communist utopia theory sounds fucking fantastic. Implementing it.
I agree with the especially with the atheist side of things, because I'm a firm believer like the whole church and state should never be mixed.
Yeah, you do what you want behind closed doors. You worship whoever you want behind closed doors. Don't bring it out here to me because I don't want to hear about it. But, yeah. Following the expulsion of the ethnic, we're going to go through some of these ethnic cleansings real quick because, you gotta. So following the expulsion of the ethnic Vietnamese from Cambodia, the regime began massacring Vietnamese civilians who were being deported out of the country. The regime then prevented the remaining 20,000 ethnic Vietnamese from fleeing, and much of this group was also executed. So yeah, they're like, get out. Just get out, leave the country. Okay, we'll leave. Now, you know what? Kill them instead.
Cambodian colonoscopy right there.
Something like that. Just let me leave. No. They wanted to leave. They tried to leave. A lot of them did leave. And then they're like, you know what? Just fucking kill them. Because they didn't want them in Vietnam. Pol Pot didn't want Vietnamese anywhere. By this point in his life, he fucking just despised all Vietnamese people. Whether you're communist or not, they just wanted to just do away with you.
Wouldn't you look like D&D with some of these motherfuckers? Like, imagine like having one of them as the DM, like, and Pol Pot as the DM. It's kind of like, well, like I hit your big bad guy. He's like, no, you don't. Yeah.
No, you don't.
It's like he rolls an at one as clear as day. That's not 20. You're dead. It's like, okay, thanks, boss.
I use Fireball, but we're all in this itty bitty area. Don't use Fireball now. I use Fireball
twice.
You roll the nat one. My Fireball's so strong, nat one's fine. You won't die. The Khmer Rouge also used the media to support their goals of genocide. Radio Phnom Penh called on Cambodians to, quote, exterminate the 50 million Vietnamese. So, really didn't like them very much. So as far as the Chinese Cambodians were concerned, and he really wanted the help of the Chinese. So this was a little surprising. But they say it was, quote, the worst disaster ever to befall any ethnic Chinese community in Southeast Asia. They were massacred under the rationale that they were, quote, used to exploit the Cambodian people. Many of the businesses in the larger cities were ran by Chinese Cambodians at the time. They were stereotyped as traders and moneylenders associated with capitalism, while historically the group had attracted resentment due to their lighter skin color and cultural differences. All I can think of is when Hitler tried to bring up the whole Jews are bad for everybody because they're the ones who control. Yeah, they're the ones who control the media. They're the ones who control all the money. It's pretty much the same fucking thing.
It's the exact same thing crossed my mind as soon as you said it. Like you're talking about it, I was like, that sounds just like Hitler with Jews.
Yeah. Hundreds of Chinese were rounded up and told that they were to be resettled, but were actually executed. At the beginning of the rule of the Khmer Rouge regime in 1975, there were around 425,000 ethnic Chinese in Cambodia. By the time it was all over, there were just 200,000. Most of them stuck in Thai refugee camps. The rest of them were left in Cambodia or just murdered. And about 170,000 Chinese fled from Cambodia to move to Vietnam, or others were repatriated into Chinese society. And you might be thinking, well, wouldn't this hurt relations between the Chinese and Pol Pot? And the answer is not really. No, they didn't really give a fuck. Because at the time, Mao Zedong was running it all, and he didn't give a fuck about his own people. So, yeah.
He was in the middle of setting up all of his Chinese rip-off factories anyway.
Yes. You know, like we had talked about.
They just made the Made in China stamp has literally just gone to production, and they're sticking it on fucking everything they possibly could.
You know, all the Trump American flags. Yeah, they just made in China right on the side. Yep.
Sitting there under a truckload of iPhones, just stamp.
Making their superior mans and their
Robert Kopp.
Robert Kopp. Middle-aged ninja tortoises.
Wonder if in China it just says made, like or made down the road or some shit.
It's just made in ... Well,
yeah. Does an arrow pointing down.
Yeah, wherever you're standing, you probably made it, and you can't afford it. But the quote, fiercest extermination campaign was directed against the ethnic Cams, or Cambodians' Muslim minority. Islam was seen as an alien and foreign culture that didn't belong in the new communist system. At first, the Khmer Rouge wanted forced assimilation of Cams through population dispersal. Well, that didn't work. Pol Pot just decided to use imitation, including the assassination of village elders. But he ultimately ordered the full-scale mass killing of the Cam people, starting with the murder of Cam Muslim leaders, including muftis, imams, and other men of influence. Then they outlawed any Muslim rituals. They were forced from their communities, either forced to perform labor in the fields, or they were accused of plotting to incite acts of resistance or rebellion against the Khmer Rouge and arrested. Around 132 mosques were destroyed during Pol Pot's rule. Others were desecrated, and Muslims weren't allowed to practice their faith. They were forced to eat pork and then murdered when they refused. Whole villages. I know it's a low blow. Killing all these people. I mean, that's horrible, obviously, but that's one thing. But like, before we get to kill you, you have to eat the one thing your religion says you are not allowed to eat. It's just for no reason.
So here's the thing. This is going to sound really bad, but this is purely for the point of comedy right here, folks. Just like,
oh God, here we go.
Thing is, right, is I don't believe in any of that stuff, and I think it's all hokum, right? I respect the fact that people do. So therefore, if somebody, Muslim, whatever that, doesn't want to eat pork because of their religion and all that shit, then
sure,
cool. I don't care. Yeah? But the upside to this is that they got to actually finally try sweet, sweet, delicious savory pork for the first time. And because like fucking pork, man, is just
it's delicious,
the
but
most amazing, wonderful animal ever. Jesus. They're far dirtier animals than pigs. So,
oh yeah, pigs are actually very clean animals.
Yeah, like look, I get it, but no, I can just imagine the guy sitting there. Guy hands him like a carnitas burrito or some shit. Like, eat this, or you're gonna die. You know, and it's filled with brown rice.
Jesus, God damn
it! He's just sitting there. He's like, I get it now. Like, yeah, okay.
God damn it. Pineapple and Canadian bacon on their pizza. It's like,
oh yeah,
do it. It's so good. Hawaiian pizza, so good. Oh.
Yeah,
and technically Hawaiian pizza should be Spam instead of ham because Spam is so prevalent in Hawaii.
Massive in Hawaii, yeah,
big thing.
I must try that actually because I have a can of Spam in the press. We bought it as a joke. We were in a shop. We're in this town in the middle of nowhere here on the west coast, and it was Connor and his friend were there, and there was one of these like very old typical Irish pubs where I had like a little convenience store thing attached to it. The way it used to be, like, I mean, you used to go in and you'd have like a little bar next to the butchers or whatever like that, and it's an all-encompassing thing. So one door is the shop, one door is the pub.
Sure.
So we're in there having a few drinks anyway, and decided to pop into the shop next door to get a few snacks. We're playing a game of pool, so we had a pool tournament, and they were like, "What are we going to win if we win?" So I got a can of Spam, and I thought that was the trophy for winning. And it's sitting there for the last like 2 years, I think. I was going to paint it gold. I decided not to, but it's sitting in there now for the last 2 years or so, and I still haven't bothered making anything yet. But I was thinking about making Spam sushi, or now.
Have you ever had? Have you ever actually eaten it?
No, but I heard it's delicious. See, that's the thing.
It's fucking amazing.
Yeah, I want to do that.
Oh my God.
Spam carbonara type thing.
Spam gets the worst fucking rep, and it is delicious. Cut it in.
I'm sorry, I've eaten Spam, sorry, yes, but I haven't eaten Spam sushi, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, so
cut it into like 1/4-inch thick slices and fried up in a little bit of oil. Put it on a sandwich, just some bread and tomato and mayonnaise or something. Oh, fucking hell. Or I chop it up, I cube it, and I'm put it with some cubed potatoes and make a hash. Put some eggs on it. It's fucking great. Or cube it up and, lightly, fry it up so it's nice and crispy and done, but not like to the point where it's just greasy as shit. Put it on some ramen. Holy fuck, man! I love
that's a fucking great idea actually, because I've had all that shit downstairs for making ramen for lunch week. So cool, that's a great idea actually.
Some chopped up fried Spam and a soft boiled egg on top of your fucking ramen. I'm eating
for the rest of the week.
God damn it, it's good. Fuck, try some, if you're out there and you like pork, you can eat pork. Get you some fucking Spam, or luncheon meat if you go the generic
cold cut route.
Yeah, it's fucking great.
Now back to the genocide of all the Muslim people who can't enjoy Spam.
Whole villages were eradicated.
None of these people can enjoy Spam. Let's be honest.
They weren't allowed to speak their language. The children were separated from their parents and raised as Khmers. Orders given by the Khmer Rouge government stated, quote, "The Kham nation no longer exists on Kampuchea's soil belonging to the Khmer. Accordingly, Kham nation nationality, language, customs, and religious beliefs must be immediately abolished. Those who fail to obey this order will suffer all the consequences for their acts of opposition to Angkar." What?
There's not going to be a season 2.
No. Those are miniseries. They don't make season 2s of those.
Fuck's sake.
She just got done watching Fall of the House of Usher.
Oh, it's so good.
And she's like, there's not going to be a season 2.
There never
is. No, of course
not. None of his stuff none of their stuff ever have season 2.
No.
I digress.
Well, now that she's interrupted us and taken this train of thought off its fucking tracks, let's get it back on.
Fuck's sake.
All religions were banned, and the repression of adherents to Islam, Christianity, and Buddhism was extensive. It's estimated that up to 50,000 Buddhist monks were massacred by the Khmer Rouge. By mid-1976, Pol Pot was announced as prime minister, and he was pushing hard for a complete and rapid transformation to a communist utopian collective where people would live and work for the good of the country and the party and not for personal gain. Looking for his plans to be even more aggressive and rapid than Mao's Great Leap Forward, he had a 4-year plan to boost agricultural production and the use of the profits from the surplus to industrialize. Looking to triple agricultural production within a year without the use of modern machinery or tools.
This guy thinks he's playing Age of Empires 2 or some shit. Like that's...
Settlers of fucking Catan or something.
Settlers if I build my pyramid, then I'll be able to progress to the next age. It's like, damn it, Pol Pot, we're still stuck in the Iron Age. I don't care. Give me 16 more farms. There's some wood over there you can chop.
Where are all the little men with hammers just going, and it just builds. It says it takes 12 hours, but I always pay a little bit extra to speed it up.
It does take 9 months per person, and they're useless for years.
But since they killed most of the intellectuals, including anyone that would possibly know on how on earth you would triple production in a year, most of these new farmers were completely ignorant. People on collective farms endured harsh living conditions, including inadequate shelters, sanitation, and medical facilities. Malnutrition and starvation were widespread due to insufficient food rations and the regime's inability to manage agricultural production effectively. Tens of thousands of people died as a result, and much like other iron-fisted dictators, he refused to accept any blame for the failure of his plan for the country, saw himself as a genius in every field. He couldn't be the one that had gotten it all wrong. It had to be something or someone else. Quote, hidden enemies burrowing from within. He thought there were counter-revolutionaries and spies undermining his plans.
That being said, it's kind of ironic though that people are like failing and dying of starvation while tripling farming.
But they're not tripling anything.
No, they're trying to,
They're trying to.
That's
they haven't
my point.
tripled anything, though. Because the more people you have working, the more food they're going to need.
I know,
the more
yeah,
you're
but
growing,
that's
the more you're going to take in. It doesn't work.
It's almost like the time. It's really funny, right? So we were doing up the garden at the time, right? Here's a funny way for how adolescent brains work, right? So we were doing up the garden, and we had a plant pot sitting there, and my wife was talking about how she wants to have a bigger one, and so the child, his thought was, what he said, if he listens to this, Connor, you know damn well what I'm talking about. If you cut it in half and put it back together, it would be bigger. That was the thought. Now I know exactly what the train of thought was as if you cut it in half and put something else in the middle, spread it out. But there's nothing else to put in the fucking middle. So they actually said, cut it in half and put it back together, and then it'll be big. Yeah, because that was, if anything, technically it would be smaller.
Yeah, because you
lose the width of the blade.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was so funny. See, I did say I put up Trustpilot review.
Yeah.
And it was because of the fact that I kind of nearly wouldn't want to do an ad like this without actually trying the things out. So both you and I have ordered numerous products. I have ordered, I think it's 3 of the bundles.
Yeah.
I got the beard growth bundle with the derma roller and the growth accelerator, which I will report back in on over time because it takes weeks upon weeks, a couple of months for it to properly take effect.
Yeah. Right, yeah, it's not one of those things where you put it on and all. It's like a cartoon, you put it on and it just comes out.
Yeah, it's not the Moxonel. That's what it ain't. Like, I wish it was. But I did get the shampoo conditioner bundle. I got 2 bundles of the oils also, where it has the elixir and the day tonic. So I got 2 different scents in that one of the silver tier. I think it was the Viking Storm, and I got Homir's Poem, the gold one.
Yeah, I haven't. That's the one I don't think I've tried yet, and I might get it next time I order. Yeah, what's it smell like? You know,
like sex. I don't know. Like it's really good. Like no, like Alison loves it. See, the thing is, it's got. Whenever I put on yours, I'm going through the Viking Storm one first. And she was like, ooh, the smell of that. And then the other day, because I wanted to test it out, what it was like, I threw on the night elixir for the Homir's Poem, and she was like, oh my god, that's way better. Like, and the price difference between them was only a couple of euros, so I'll be buying the gold tier one next time around again, I think, because genuinely it is way nicer. But I think they're great though, because like I always used another kind of brand stuff, and it's worked out a good chunk cheaper, and it is way better quality. This stuff is so.
You know, you got to wait for it to be shipped to you, which can sometimes it's a lot quicker now than what it was before when they first started out. When I first got with them about 3 years ago, it took a long time to get the shipment in, and now it's a lot quicker. But for that little bit of time, you have no wash, you have no oil, and you go to the store and you get just the off the shelf stuff, and oil is oil, but honestly, there is such a difference between the stuff you're buying at the store for $10 and what you're getting at the Beard Struggle. That's why I keep going back to them. I
100%.
I love them. I do. Even though I've tried others, be like, I'll give this a try, see if it's any good. That's something you kind of have to do. If you're, to see how good the quality product is, you need to try something else. And every single time it's been, well, that's no good. Get more Beard Struggle.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I am now as well. And they have a sampler kit for each of their things. They have a balm sampler kit. And
it comes with the. It comes with their standard scents that are kind of always there. Yeah. And so if you don't know what you would like, which so far I have not found one that has not gone over well with the wife, which is really what matters.
Straight.
But if you don't know what scent you like, you get the sampler kit, and you find out. You'll probably find out that you like all of them. And if you want to get that, use our exclusive discount code TORTURE19 at checkout. It's beardstruggle.com. Do what's right for your beard. Do what's right for your face. Now, it didn't take much time for paranoia to take over Pol Pot's world. His top priorities became secrecy and security. He surrounded himself with bodyguards, had food testers, and refused to ever sleep in the same place twice. I guess when you have all those empty houses that they left open, you can just pick a different house every night to sleep in. Be like, somebody bring me the goldfish.
I was gonna say food tester would be the best job. Guaranteed to get food.
Unless it wasn't the best job. Unless somebody was actually trying to kill him.
Yeah, but then you're out of your misery then, realistically, aren't you? Like, you're not going to starve to death then, and it's... you could go down eating some sweet pork burritos or some shit, like I said already, so...
Brown rice?
Yeah. But...
pork burritos, brown rice.
That's what you're into. With some nice Cholula hot sauce.
He started ordering the arrest, torture, and execution of thousands of Khmer within the first few months after the end of the revolution. He created a secret police force called the Santabal.
Not the secret police.
No Citadel, just Santabal. And a special prison for the torture and interrogation of suspected enemies. A former high school in Phnom Penh called Tuol Sve. It was codenamed S21, ran by security head Kang Kek Lu, a.k.a. Duch. Now, Dan, I want you to take a quick guess.
Will Kek Lu?
Kang Kek Lu. I want you to take a quick guess at what Duch means, roughly.
2. No.
The schoolboy who stands up when the teacher asks him to stand up.
Also, like a teacher's pet type thing? Or
Pretty
is that
much,
literally just
yeah.
Okay.
But
You're
but
Duch.
the action.
You're a Duch.
Duch. The Duch. The Duch. Fucking teacher's pet. Fucking Duch.
Fucking Duch.
It's so fucking Duch. How did I not think of that? Fucking Duch. Oh. Fuchduch. Oh, that might be the name of the episode. I don't know yet. And the majority of its guards and torturers were teenagers, so no self-control and completely obedient. So let's talk a bit about this particular prison. S21 was the site of horrific abuse. It combined the functions of incarceration, investigation, adjudication, and counterespionage. People were rounded up and imprisoned there based on the slightest suspicion of being subversive or for deviating from the strict codes of behavior laid out by Ankar. Once there, prisoners were housed alone in tiny individual cells or large classrooms with masses of others. In either case, prisoners were shackled to the floor, given paltry rations of food, forbidden from talking, and were subject to sometimes daily interrogations, which always including torture, such as electric shocks, suffocations, beatings, and other physical and psychological abuse. I even saw something that said you couldn't lay down, sit up, or even shift your weight without permission. So if you're just like laying there and your arm's falling asleep or your hips starting to hurt and you shift your position, you had to get permission first to just
move. For the
move.
ones that were released, called Lucky Ducks.
We'll get to the ones who were released. There's not many, but I get where you're coming from. Each person brought to the prison was considered guilty upon arrival and expected to confess their guilt. The confessions were to include lists of others who were guilty of subversion or counter-revolutionary acts. Under the duress and pain of torture, people regularly falsified confessions, often listing the names of whomever they could think of as long as it would end the torture. I immediately thought of the witch trials and pretty much everything that we've talked about in medieval Europe so far in this podcast. Yeah. Just come up with something to tell them so they'll leave you alone.
It was Dave.
Steve's old fucking Steve Cooper.
Fucking guy. Get down, Steve.
We gotta get a Steve Cooper t-shirt. And nobody's gonna understand what it is unless you listen to the show. That's fine, but we gotta get a Steve Cooper t-shirt. Anybody out there who does art, anybody who does like fan art or anything, like, come up with a Steve Cooper t-shirt in a barrel or something. We'll put it on a shirt. Now, even though many times after a confession, Duch or some other higher up would read the confession, decide it was either bullshit or not enough, and have them tortured some more. And these confessions were turned over directly to Pol Pot. So let's take a look at some of these violent stories from people that suffered these horrors. People like Chum May, a rare survivor of S21. And again, when I say rare, we will get to exactly how rare it is to survive S21. Chum May had been working as a mechanic for the Khmer Rouge when suddenly he was arrested on October 28th, 1978, and taken straight to S21. He was never told why. Quote, "I was blindfolded and my hands were tied behind my back. I pleaded with my captors to let my family know where I was. All they told him was, 'Ankar will smash you.' Upon arrival, he was pulled by the ear to direct him where to go and kicked in the waist, causing him to fall."
Ankar will smash you. Yeah.
After being measured and photographed, prisoners were stripped and shackled to the floor of the cell, barely big enough to sit down, about 1.5 meters by 2 meters. There was a small bullet container in which he should relieve himself, and he was told that if he spilled anything, liquid or solid, he would be required to lick the spillover off the floor. And I read a couple of these, and it is what they forced them to do. Didn't matter what fell on the floor, you were going to clean it with your tongue.
Old classic piddle in the middle and your feet will stay dry.
Sure.
Ever heard that one? Ever heard
I've
that?
never heard that one. But I mean, a bullet container is not very, very big. They're
don't
not
imagine.
big.
No.
So if you got to drop a mighty deuce.
No, they're not feeding you enough to drop a mighty deuce, though, to be
But
fair.
when you first go in there, you might have had enough to eat before, Now by 1978, he would not have had enough to eat. He would have probably been already emaciated.
Dropping a 50 caliber shit. You know, right?
He was told not to talk to other people adjacent to his cell and was required to just be quiet. Quote, "After that, I cried because I felt so hopeless and confused. On the first day, he was given a ladle of watery gruel in the morning and another in the evening. Chum May was so hungry. Chum May was so hungry, he would eat the rats that scurried into his cell. Now, they don't have fire to cook these things, so you're eating them raw.
No thanks.
Yeah. In the 12 days that followed, he was taken from his cell 3 times a day, 7 a.m. to 11 a.m., 1 p.m. to 5 p.m., and 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., and tortured in one of the prison's interrogation rooms. 2 guards took turns beating him with sticks covered in twisted wire. Eventually, they decided to pull out his big toenails. Yes, so I had an ingrown toenail removed last year, and while the experience for the most part was fine, getting the shot of numbing solution, lidocaine, whatever it was they gave me, was probably the worst part of it initially. It's fucking horrible. I don't feel anything after that until all that shit wears off. And then the pain kicks in. I just wanted somebody to cut my toe off. I was like, I can't believe I went through. Why did I do this to myself? Why did I get this done? I should have just lived with the ingrown toenail. I would have been fine. Why did I do? I laid in bed. Just why did I do it? Because they told me to take off work for the next couple days after that because you can't really walk. You can't wear a shoe.
Kevin's like, I'm taking off life for the next couple of days.
I'm never returning to work. I just wanted somebody to cut my fucking toe off. It hurt so goddamn bad. But that was with numbing solution, and that was only a part of my toenail. He had his toenails ripped out, just somebody grabbed them and pulled really hard.
That's just no. I draw the line.
I read that,
things, Kevin.
I read that, and it just PTSD. It just brought it all back. As I was like, no, the medical procedure I went through once that people go through daily. Oh god,
I've seen it in movies before and stuff, and it's one of the things that definitely makes me squirm. It's like there's like well, not even that, like even like just pulling in nails in general. Like there's the movie about the revolution here, War of Independence, or whatever it was, the wind shakes the barley, or is it based? I think I brought it up before, but this is based on World War One or something. Anyway, guy getting fingernails pulled, and it's like not as if they properly showed or anything, and it's just like
right.
No, like
even then, I think getting my fingernails pulled out wouldn't bother. I mean, obviously it'd hurt and it would bother me, and I'd cry. But it wouldn't be as bad as the toenails. For some reason, the toenails just it gives it that little bit. It makes it that little bit more, a little bit worse, just a little bit worse.
It gives you, as what the kids would say today, the ick.
The ick. Speaking of World War I movies, I just watched All Quiet on the Western Front that they redid like last year.
Yeah.
So fucking good. So fucking good.
I've been meaning to check that out, actually.
That's great.
Was it 1944? That's the name,
I don't know. 1914?
Or maybe it's 1914, thinking of.
Or 1917?
Maybe it's 19. I don't know. It's a movie.
Yeah. That's really good. I've seen it. I just don't remember which year it's based on. But yeah, I've seen it.
Oh, it's 1984. That's what it is.
Oh, that's a different one. That's different. That's completely different. Quote, I could tolerate the pain of being beaten and even having my toenail pulled out, but it was the electric shocks I was terrified of. Now, these were administered by placing electrodes inside the ear. Not on the side of the head, not by the ear, inside the fucking ear.
I thought you were going to say something else at first.
No, but still. He is deaf in one ear as a result.
That's why they call it the shocker, you see.
He's deaf in one ear as a result and says he hears the sound of rushing water when he moves his head. Quote, it felt like my eyes were on fire and my head was a machine. After that, I started telling them whatever they wanted to hear. I didn't know what was right or wrong anymore. So I bet that's probably like, okay, yeah, what do you want to know? I will tell you literally everything. Good on him for waiting that long, because they'd take me to the room. I'd be like, what do you want to know?
Yeah.
Who do you want me thrown under the bus? I don't give a fuck. What is it?
Your man brings in his glove extender. He's just literally putting his hands in his gloves, and you're like, what do you want?
Don't use that.
No, not the pair of English. If you want to know what I'm talking about, then go back and check out our Pair of Anguish episode there, everybody, and you.
Just putting a cantaloupe in a head crusher. This could be you. He was constantly asked about CIA and KGB agents. He said he fabricated names as to not implicate anyone, giving a false confession to finally stop the torture. The only thing that saved his life was that he could fix sewing machines, typewriters, and water pumps. He was useful, so there's no point in killing him off just quite yet. A fellow survivor, Bao Meng, was originally a Khmer Rouge supporter. An artist by trade, he had actually painted some of the early propaganda posters. He and his wife, Mei Yun, were arrested on August 16, 1977. Quote, they screamed in my wife's face that Angkar had never arrested the wrong person. The couple had been separated on arrival at S-21. Bao Meng was photographed and taken to a large holding cell filled with emaciated prisoners. Quote, at first I thought the smell, was something like dead fish or mice, because I had never smelt rotting human flesh before. Like Chum Mei, he was relentlessly questioned and beaten, leaving scars on his back. He, too, is deaf in one ear as a result of regular torture. After several months... Huh?
That's from his wife.
No.
The deaf in one ear thing.
After several months of interrogation, Bao Meng also relented and gave a false confession, admitting to being part of a CIA network and naming other collaborators. When Duch found out that he was an artist, he told him to reproduce a black and white photograph of Pol Pot, and Duch warned him that if it wasn't lifelike, he'd be killed. It took him 3 months to finish the painting. It was 1.5 meters wide by about 1.8 meters high. So yeah, I bet you took all the fucking time in the world to get that thing done. You painstaked every goddamn line of that fucking
3
thing.
years later. I'm still working on the eye.
Pleased with his work, Duch later requested large portraits of Karl Marx, Lenin, and Mao Zedong, as well as several more of Pol Pot. He was also told to draw, and this is a weird one. Why he was told to draw it, I guess the specificity of it is weird, like the actual content of the picture.
Let me guess. Is it the cool S from the 90s? That's what he gets him to do. Y'all know what I'm talking
So
about.
draw that on fucking everything.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google it.
I couldn't draw the Slipknot S to say my
Yeah,
life.
everybody
I
was
just
doing it
drove
for that.
I just drew that. Anyway, he was also told to draw the Vietnamese communist leader Ho Chi Minh stranded on a rooftop in the middle of a big storm.
That'd be pretty epic. It'd be like an album cover. You know, Ho Chi Minh
Yeah, but he's
standing there,
supposed to.
so like, you know, holding his
But
hand
he's not
up,
supposed to be like heroic. He's supposed to be standing stranded. Like
that also look pretty heroic. I don't care what anybody says. That looked like the cover, like the coolest album ever. But you look cover that album. Remember the one that I showed on here before?
yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like that. That's what it'll be like. That was
Quote,
fantastic.
I don't know why Duch needed these paintings, and I didn't dare to ask. It's like, no, if he tells you to draw something, fucking draw it. Just fucking draw it. Don't give a shit. What do you want? You want the Pope with a prolapsed anus chasing after a little boy? Sure, I'll draw whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. Chum May was lucky enough to meet back up with his wife and their newborn son after his release. His other son had died of fever during the first evacuation, and his daughters went missing after his arrest and were never found. Bao Meng's wife was murdered in S-21. And then there was Van Nath, another survivor, that said, quote, after living on 2 or 3 spoonfuls of rice a day for several days, my body began to deteriorate. Yeah, that one. My ribs were poking out, and my body was like an old man of 70. My hair was overgrown like bamboo roots and had become a nest for lice. I had scabies all over my body. My mind and spirit had flown away. I only knew one thing clearly: hunger. Every 4 days, they gave us a bath. They brought hoses up from downstairs and sprayed everyone from the doorway. If you were on the far side of the room, like I was, you didn't get very wet. Each day, they would take some prisoners out of my room to be interrogated. They would handcuff and blindfold the prisoners before they left the room. Sometimes, some of the prisoners came back with wounds or blood on their bodies, while others disappeared. Prisoners who had been there when I arrived started dying in the room one by one. If a prisoner died in the morning, they would not take him out until night. So just a dead body laying there next to you all fucking day.
Lovely. Start eating that shit. Protein, people. Protein.
It might get that bad. You might have to alive it. You know, if
Might
they
have to
let
what?
you. Alive it. You know, the story of the Argentinian rugby team lost in the Andes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know what you're getting at because it was a corpse, and you're like, I might have to alive it.
Yeah, you Frankenstein the fucking thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, you trying to do this thing where, like, they're on Facebook now where you can't say dead or murdered, and you're like, they're the unalive.
Oh, you unalive it. Yeah. No, you go steal some of those electric shock, whatever they're using for electric shocks for interrogation. You put it on the corpse and you bring it back to life. You Frankenstein the fucking
thing. Or
you
put off
it.
slices of their butt cheeks and you stick it on that thing. You turn it on. You turn it into a kebab.
The kebab.
Yep.
Interrogations weren't the only horrors of S-21. They, again, much like the Japanese, performed medical experiments on unwilling prisoners. One 17-year-old woman had her throat slit and her abdomen pierced before being put in water for 2 hours. Then she was apparently beaten, put back in the water for a whole night, and the process was repeated several times. Duch testified that this experiment was conducted in order to find out how many days bodies could stay in water before they resurfaced. They resurface automatically. They do it, put a dead body in the water. The first thing that'll happen is they will resurface.
I suppose him sitting there and he's like, how long do you think if we threw in that water? How long do you think until she float back up to the top? Oh, right away. Try that shit. Chuck her in there. Oh, okay.
Sure?
Yeah, well, look, we don't want her flapping around the place. Cut her throat first. Okay, go bam, into the water. Floats up to the top. You know what? Beat her a little bit. She might be less likely to come back up again.
Beat the fuck out of her. See if she stays down
Yeah.
then. Well, first he's like, oh, it sounded like they were just playing around, like they were just having fun with her, playing with her. And then they're like, come on. And he finally told them, he's like, okay, it was an experiment to see how long it would take a body to resurface. Immediately. It happens immediately. It's not Leonardo DiCaprio in the Titanic where he just floats to the bottom of the fucking ocean after he lets go of the
You sink to the bottom of things, Kevin. You don't float to the bottom of things.
That makes as much sense. I'm not sinking, I'm floating with style.
Lower up the volume there, will you please?
M. Un, who worked as a medic during 1977 and 1978, testified he had seen live human beings used for medical experiments instead of corpses. People were cut open alive under the macabre guise of medical experiments designed to teach young Khmer Rouges medicine. At least 100 prisoners were killed by bleeding them to death, and some were sliced open and had organs removed with no anesthetic.
I can imagine some soldiers guy sitting there with a bunch of Khmer Rouge people, and it's like, so that's a dick.
Just hack it off.
Next. You're learning medicine.
Although most of those taken to S21 were young Khmer men, the population included women and sometimes children. When a man was imprisoned for what was euphemistically called re-education, his wife and children were frequently taken along. Males and females were housed and interrogated separately, and the women were separated from their children and frequently sexually abused by the young guards. One former guard explained that even women and children prisoners were seen as the enemy and were abused and executed mercilessly. Quote, when the party makes an arrest, it arrests an enemy of the party. If we arrest the husband, we arrest the wife and children too, even our own parents or brothers or sisters. If the party arrests them, they're enemies. If we are ordered to destroy them, we did. The party never made a mistake. I mean, that is just brainwashing and indoctrination to a T. The party never makes a mistake.
I'd like to know if they had erasers in their stationery in their offices or not. Because
Pol Pot did not own an eraser.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
None. Yeah, all the chalkboards and all the chalk, no erasers. It was covered from end to end. Just erase something just so you can go click, click, and the desk goes everywhere.
They're sitting in the canteen say, hey, did you put too much salt in this?
I don't know. Did I?
Yeah.
You did not. Tell me. You did not. Many of the guards later claimed they committed abuses and murder because they feared for their own lives. One said, quote, I realized that I was really a prisoner there too. When I heard people scream, I was worried that if I did anything, they would torture and kill me, which I imagine is true for a small minority of prison guards. I'm sure a few of them probably didn't want to be doing all the horrible things they were doing, but you're not going to convince me that it was the majority. You're not going to convince me at all that the majority of the people that were there doing that shit didn't want to be there doing that shit.
Of course
not. For a second. So what happened if you gave a confession, false or not, and the torture stopped? Well, then you would be blindfolded, hands tied, loaded up in a truck, and shipped off to Chiang Ek, otherwise known as the Killing Fields. In a series of mass burial pits, the prisoners would not be shot because bullets were expensive and in limited supply. And you can't kill this many people with bullets. It doesn't make financial sense. No, instead the victims would be bludgeoned or stabbed to death. Axe handles, sharpened bamboo sticks, hammers, machetes, and the most popular tool, the axle of an ox cart.
Okay.
It's like, I feel like you could use the ox cart for better things than, killing people with. I feel like that's a tool that you will need, especially in a economy fueled by farming and rice, you're going to need something to carry all that shit. You might want to keep your ox carts intact.
They probably just got bored.
It's good.
That's probably all it was. Yeah.
It's like, well, we already killed the ox and ate him. What do we do with its cart? Take it apart and beat people with it. Well, that's the next obvious solution. Duh. Luckily, this wasn't to last more than a few years. Luckily. Just a few years.
That axle from the ox cart, that human head shape fucking bending it by now.
How long you had that one? Just a few years. I
need a pipe from fucking Tom and Jerry or something. You know, they hit them and they got their shaping.
Donald Duck is just and then the beak. You're despicable. Yeah. Oh. Pol Pot's paranoia may have indeed led to the capture and murder of his enemies inside the Khmer Rouge. But he also weakened the party so much through creating fear and mistrust that he left the country open to invasion. A conflict was quickly coming to a head with Vietnam. Many Vietnamese troops were still along the border as after the war had ended, and Paul feared that they would eventually attack. So he sent his troops to execute small invasions and confront Vietnamese troops, slaughtering an estimated 30,000 Vietnamese civilians. Most notably, during the Ba Chuk massacre, the Khmer Rouge military crossed the border and entered the village, murdering 3,157 Vietnamese citizens. Just
when was this again?
This was in between 1976 and 1970, the end of 1978.
So Vietnam had literally just gotten out of their own.
Well, yeah, this whole area had just gotten out of war. The whole, and that's the whole thing is that
just
everybody.
Like, I know, like Laos and Cambodia and all that. Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's southern Vietnam, too, so it's the people that really got their asses handed to them in the first place. They're all worn out from fighting. The Americans are gone. They're not there to protect them anymore. So, yeah. It's just shit sandwich on top of shit sandwich. Brown rice on top of brown rice.
Yeah.
Now, he asked China for help, but they didn't like the fact that he was hiding the party's communist affiliation from the world. So in September of 1977, Pol Pot came out of the communist closet and told everyone he was actually Salazar, son of a rice farmer. It was too little, too late. While China agreed to give money and weapons, they refused to send troops. So Pol Pot started sending rice to the Khmer Rouge troops that were fighting with the Vietnamese, taking food from the people and the workers that were growing it, meaning more and more were dying from starvation and being overworked. It's like, I know you only get like one spoonful of rice a day, but we're going to cut that to no spoonfuls of rice a day so I can feed the people who are killing the Vietnamese for literally no fucking reason. So,
problem is the Vietnamese, the rest of the Cambodian army are standing there with a bunch of fucking axles made in China. So you're trying to fight off the Vietnamese. They're just cheap pieces of crap to keep breaking.
What happened to your cart axle? It broke. Fucking you pick it up made in China. God damn it, another one. Christmas Day, 1978, the Vietnamese launched a full-scale invasion with more than 100,000 of their own troops and 20,000 former Khmer troops that were dedicated to overthrow Pol Pot. By January 2nd, the Vietnamese started airstrikes, and by the 5th, Pol Pot was holed up in Phnom Penh. The city fell to the Vietnamese on the 7th, and Pol Pot evacuated by helicopter to Thailand. S-21 was liberated, chaos ensued, and the vast majority of the prisoners that were left were quickly executed. When it was all said and done, S-21 imprisoned an estimated 20,000 people. I talk about how rare it was to survive. Of that 20,000 people, 12 survived.
Jesus.
Not 1,200, not 12,000. 12. A mortality rate of 0.06%. Worse than any Nazi concentration camp. By far.
And the biggest electricity bill going.
Went right into your ear. Just right into your ear.
That's how earbuds were invented.
Pol Pot would spend the next 19 years bouncing from camp to camp along the northern and eastern borders of Cambodia, protected by the last few Khmer Rouge that held territory there. The Thai, Chinese, and the United States provided him with financial, tactical, and diplomatic support for much of the 80s and 90s. Yes. Yes. As we stand there woo-wooing our hatred of communists, we just helped one of the worst ones to ever live get away with whatever he wanted.
America likes to hitch itself to all kinds of strange wagons.
Fuck yeah. Hinge your bets, is what they tell you. Hinge your bets. In 1979, he was found guilty of war crimes and punished to death, but since he was in hiding, didn't really matter. And since he had countries like Thailand, China, and the U.S. behind him, it's a good chance that he wasn't going to be taken prisoner anytime soon. Pol Pot remained a symbolic leader, but faced internal dissent within the Khmer Rouge ranks. In June of 1997, a faction within the Khmer Rouge turned against Pol Pot and arrested him. The reason for his arrest included internal power struggles and international pressure. Now, after his arrest, Pol Pot was placed under house arrest by the Khmer Rouge. He remained confined to a small hut in the jungle. April of 1998, news of his arrest leaked to the international community. Shortly thereafter, on April 15th, Pol Pot died under mysterious circumstances. Official cause of death was reported as a heart attack, but questions surrounding his demise persisted.
It was strange to have a heart attack after you fall 10 stories. Yeah.
We caught him, and he's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. I imagine it might have been like a Gaddafi thing. We caught him, and he got raped in the asshole with a utility knife. Hate when that happens. By the end of Pol Pot's reign, between 2 and 3 million people, almost the entire population of Phnom Penh, were dead. As of the latest numbers, now this was probably taken about a year ago as it was updated, but as the latest numbers I could find, 1,112,829 of whom were buried in the 20,492 mass graves in the killing fields.
Some fertile land.
War, rebellion, man-made famine, genocide, politicide, and mass murder claimed almost a quarter of the entire Cambodian population. And that is the somewhat condensed story of Pol Pot and the Cambodian genocide.
Love to know how he went out.
Yeah. Oh, I imagine it was a bullet to the head, or he died of heart problems. It was probably a knife through it.
Yeah.
Or somebody beat him to death with an ox cart.
Yeah,
axle. You can only hope. But to leave this on like a high note, I'd have you know that those two of the survivors we talked about earlier, Chum May and Bao Meng, are actually, as of the recording of this, unless something happened that I did not read, are still alive. Cool. Chum May is in his mid-90s. Bao Meng is in his mid to late 80s. They actually spend a lot of time at S21 still. It has been turned into one of the macabre tourist attractions like you would see in like an Auschwitz. People would go there and it's a somber thing. Same type of thing. You go there and you feel the weight of what's there. But yeah, they kind of wrote not so much like a full-length book, but almost like a pamphlet of what happened there, the horrors that they experience there, and they actually make a living selling that and selling tours of S21 that they will stay at periodically to, give tours and then go home. Both of them, both of their wives died. Shumei's wife died later. They're both remarried and had more children. So it's not all completely doom and gloom. There was a little bit. I'm not going to say there's a silver lining. Some people say, oh, well, there's a silver lining to this story. No, there's no silver lining to this story for those people. They just made the best of a bad situation. They came out and they're okay now.
At least they didn't fall victim to the old Dutch bag.
Yeah, so, Duch bag. Have you found any pop culture, Dan?
Oh, yeah, there was a movie. I forgot to bring it back up. There's a film made. That was a documentary film, right? I have to pull it back up here. Hold on a second now. Which was so they were actually filming while they were doing an awful lot of these atrocities.
Right.
Is
that the Welcome to the Killing Fields or whatever it is?
I believe it is. Yeah. It's just called The Killing Fields. Yeah, it was released in 1984.
Okay. Welcome to the Killing Fields is the concept album My Chemical Romance did about it. Welcome to the
Yeah, so there's I'm sorry, there's hold on a second now. There's a film called The Killing Fields, which isn't the one I was thinking of.
Okay.
Which is a journalist trapped in Cambodia during the Year Zero cleansing campaign. But then there was another one, I'll have to try and find it now. God damn it. I'll try and find it and put it up because I had it up earlier and I'm after losing it. But it's a documentary style thing, and it was them actually filming throughout stuff from their perspective, which is pretty fucking crazy. Maybe it's Enemies of the People. Is that it?
Oh.
One of the most harrowing competitive. Oh yeah, yes, yeah. Enemies of the People. It's actually a proper documentary filmed throughout. Like it's like Pol Pot's in it. It's all archival footage and stuff.
Really.
So
and they did the same type of thing with like Nanking and all that shit, where they had somebody film that stuff. I think it's like People of the Sun or something like that. I don't remember the exact name of it. But yeah, those are hard to watch.
Yeah,
it's actually interesting that S21. Nobody knew about S21 until the Vietnamese invasion, and it was a Vietnamese journalist that actually found it.
Right.
And released footage of it and everything. They had no idea what was going on. They went in, and the first thing this guy really sees is a room with a mattress in it. It's not even a mattress. It's just a bed frame with springs with no covering.
Yeah.
And it was covered in fresh blood. So much so that it even was spread up the wall onto the ceiling.
Jesus.
And there were pictures put up above the mattress of people being tortured. And that's how they actually found out about S21. And they were able to get a hold of, I believe it was 5 adults and 7 children that made it out of S21 alive. And that was it, out of all 20,000.
Like that.
So, yeah, pretty fucking horrible.
There's another documentary here actually called Cambodia, Pol Pot, and the Khmer Rouge. It's a 40-minute long documentary. Like, it's really high ratings. It's other archival footage, actual footage.
I might have to watch that and cry.
Yeah, it says.
Watch that in the fetal position and question all of my fucking life choices.
While you're eating a burrito.
Yeah. White rice, thank you. Thank you to our patrons, Inquisitor Ragamundi, Willow Quinn Fowler, and MX Sinister 26. If you want to have your name shouted out on the episode, all you got to do is go to our Patreon, sign up. We got like 4 tiers to pick from. Cheapest one's $3, get you called out. Not that big a deal. And you can get the Cult Leader tier for like a week for free just to try it out if you want. So that's fine. Also, we will read your emails if you send them to us, torturepod@gmail.com, or your messages from Instagram or the tickety-tockety or whatever you want to message us on social medias @torturepod. Go rate and review wherever you listen if possible. You can go to a YouTube page and listen to this here, see snippets of it, of what we're doing. You'll see our bright and shining faces. donate to the show on our link tree, which is on our socials. You can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/torturepod. I might change it to pizza after the conversation we had at the beginning of the show. Buy me a pizza. Or you can go to our Patreon, patreon.com/torturepod, or do us a real solid and go buy some of our merch, redbubble.com/people/torturepod. Hint for our next episode: who says exercise can't kill you?
Is this going to be about all the videos that Mr. Motivator released back in the 80s? They're fucking torture.
It's gonna be an hour and a half of buns of steel.
Oh
no,
yeah.
Yeah. No, the next one's a very interesting one.
Master.
I always learn something new when I do these, but this one I had no idea about until I kind of stumbled upon it. And it's actually horrifying, but it's actually pretty cool.
All right.
But anyway, with that, Dan, any words of wisdom?
Oh God, I keep forgetting about this.
Which is I actually kind of love. I hate and love because I like preparedness and the fact that you're not. It doesn't irk me, but it's kind of like, you should know by now. But I also love it because I catch you off guard and you're like, fuck, I gotta come up with something real quick. Fuck.
Yeah, well, see, I don't. In some ways as well, I don't like coming up with stuff in advance. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. It's not really my
you haven't
vibe.
You haven't disappointed me yet as to what your word of wisdom is, so it's fine. It's if you don't prepare. It's just if it was me, like, Kevin, any words of wisdom, I'd be like,
yeah.
And then I just turn my recording device off because I'd be stuck.
I have a couple of things.
Okay.
First one being, look, if they close your local Pizza Hut, take that as a hint. Don't go out of your way to go get Pizza Hut. They also have delivery drivers for a reason.
The delivery drivers don't drive a half an hour.
Well, in that case, I'll take that as a hint. The universe does not want you to have Pizza Hut, all right?
Your husband doesn't want you to have Pizza Hut either.
Yeah.
Your husband isn't a big fan, but you go, whatever.
Actually, probably three of them. As a second one, trim the trees outside your house, otherwise it sounds like people are creeping around inside your house every time it bangs against the window.
I imagine it's a tree. I don't know.
It's just 2 words of wisdom so far, directed directly at Kevin so far, anyway. But and then the last one, I think, is just generally good advice for absolutely anybody. If you're told not to look in the box, don't look in the box. Hear that, Brad?
What's in the box?
Don't look in the box.
If it's Gwyneth Paltrow's head, it's fine.
Just don't.
We've had enough.
Look in the box.
Of your vagina scented candles. And your goop.
Yeah.
We're done. Did you find any Taylor Swift songs named? I don't think there's any Taylor Swift song named after the killing fields or Pol Pot.
Let me see.
I don't know if she's got that many.
Taylor Swift songs about mass murder. Let's just say. Only the Young, which is about school shootings. But not quite the same thing. No. Well, that's her year.
Taylor Swift Genocide.
What do I call it? Well, that's it. That's her year zero. You know, is all the school shootings and shit like that. So, sadly, there's no Taylor Swift songs that have anything to do with Pol Pot.
We rag on Taylor Swift quite a bit on this show for her music. You know,
for what?
For her music. We're not. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's what they call it, Dan. They call it music.
Oh,
which neither one of us obviously are fans of. However, I don't know if you've been seeing the shit over there in Ireland that she's been getting for going to the NFL games.
Oh, yeah. Apparently she's dating one of the players of the game.
Yeah, she's dating Travis Kelce, who's probably the second greatest tight end Kansas City Chiefs have ever had.
He's after her tight end.
But We'll talk more about this after the show. We'll let people go. Just leave Taylor Swift alone. All right, just leave her alone.
No.
You want to brag on her for her music? That's fine. Her as a person, or enjoying her boyfriend's football games, leave her fuck alone. All right, that's all we got to say. Take care of yourselves and take care of one another, and we'll see you.
Goodbye.
Thank you.